Hi everyone, and welcome. My name is Victoria Fernandez, and I'm an MLS MA student at the Graduate School of Library and Information Studies at Queens College, CUNY. And I'll be presenting the work my colleague Annie Tummino and I have been doing for the past year as laid out in our poster. In 2020, conscious that we were all stuck at home, Head of Special Collections and Archives Annie Tummino designed a completely remote graduate fellowship opportunity. The fellowship was created using an endowed donation from the Johnson family, which provided a source of funding to sustain graduate opportunities at the Queens College Library, as well as specifically support the stewardship of our civil rights collections. So after interviewing for the position in June, I was set to work on what we've named the Student Help Lived Experience Project, with QC alumni and student help leaders Stan Shaw and Mike Winger, to reach out to alumni who participated in civil rights activities during the 1960s and document their lived experiences in these activities. The Student Help Project group was organized by students with the education department on campus to get involved and share their skills in under-resourced communities. First, the Student Help Project began locally in South Jamaica, where QC students tutored Black children after school, mostly to provide additional free learning assistance for young students in this area of Queens that is predominantly made up of communities of color. At its height, the Jamaica Project ran for a number of semesters, engaging approximately 500 QC volunteers who tutored over 1,000 students. The second leg of the project was a six-week standalone initiative that happened in the summer of 1963, where 16 Queens College students were selected from the Jamaica Project to organize a trip to Prince Edward County, Virginia, again to provide tutoring services, but also to prepare students to go back to school the following year after being shut out from education in massive resistance to integration in 1959. The Virginia Project was arguably the most memorable experience to volunteers as we've gathered in our oral histories. The process of creating interviews and including them within archival collections and making sure they're accessible is not a one and done kind of process. It requires many moving parts, which makes the preservation of born digital materials such as these a bit more involved than others may think. We interviewed 16 people, which included members of the Student Help Project, others who were politically active on campus during the 1960s, some faculty members, and even Skip Griffin, who's the son of Renelle Francis Griffin, who was involved in SNCC and NAACP demonstrations in Farmville at this time. Most of the interviews were conducted through Zoom, but others by phone. And we were doing about 2 interviews a month, which is a lot considering it was Annie and I working on the project. We learned that oral histories were a great way to add to our collections while faced with the pandemic and subsequent remote workflows. There were many moments within the interviews where participants were able to express reactions that were not otherwise documented. This also meant including the voices of volunteers who did not already have collections in our archive, but who might have been mentioned in other contexts, such as correspondence, photographs, or interviews. Another example of amplifying collections was by further explaining previously donated collections related to the Student Help Project during these interviews. By creating a link between the interview and past donations, we were able to open up a dialogue with the existing physical collections that could be a benefit to students and researchers in the future. Most importantly, we reinforce relationships between the Department of Special Collections and Archives and previous donors or project volunteers while fostering new connections with alumni, which is a fundamental part of operating within a university setting where there are multiple stakeholders. Besides creating new archival records, we found ourselves searching for a digital solution where we could bring all the moving pieces about the Student Help Project together. Annie and I posed the question, where can we find and what types of materials are there available? The short answer was almost everywhere. The college has a number of outlets for accessing collections, both physical and digital. And while this is a great advantage for students and researchers alike, it makes user accessibility very difficult. Users are left dependent on keywords. They need to have some familiarity with campus resources in order to get the full benefit of available collections and materials. So we decided to create a one-stop shop for all the materials related to the Student Help Project in the form of a LibGuide. We created a digital guide to host all aspects of the Student Help Project. We thought about using sites like WordPress, but a LibGuide was essentially the best decision as it was hosted by library apps for our college's library already and has a multitude of pages for student and campus resources. Using the modules available in the site's template, we were able to embed many of these resources in one spot. The site is still under construction and will be available to the public at the end of May. using the link provided on the poster. And so in closing, the work that we've accomplished this year as part of the Student Help Lived Experience Project proves that this fellowship is a sustainable model for paid hands-on graduate opportunities, especially in the changing environment of the pandemic. Even more so, it expands access to what the college's archive has while we remain remote at this time and will most likely be through the fall as well. Thank you so much for listening.